And welcome to another Past Attraction. I am your host and director, Jeremy, along with my co-director, co-host, Nam. And one thing you need to know about me and Nam is we are big Fallout fans. I'm a big Fallout fan. I know you're a big Fallout fan. But
Yes.
more than Elder Scrolls, right? Because like I always been weirdly enough, I think as I got older, I got more into the post-apocalypse, the more of survival, more of everything junk and stuff as a weapon. How do you survive? You got that too when you play Fallout, right? You got that like just that journey of this weird mysterious end of the world kind of environment.
Oh man, it was just a much better world. I thought. I like the fact that you actually had guns and you could like build guns and do all that stuff. That environment that you're just trying to scrap for everything that you can to try to survive, man. That was the best. Plus, that's the reason why I don't want to talk about Lord of the Rings.
Not all like 24 hours of it. Yeah, I absolutely agree. When I got my first Fallout game, I have to say I got into was Fallout 3. Actually, I know there was two Fallouts before that, but they were like more of the overhead kind of view, and it was PC only at the time. So like Fallout when it came for Xbox 360 is where I really got introduced to the Fallout series and everything like that. And I was late to the party because Fallout was on PC for a very long time before it came to Xbox and PlayStation 3. So I really got into that of your this vault survivor that goes to take with your main character take your chance out in the real world and you explore everything. And it's a big popular game. The reason I'm bringing this up because the movie I'm going to talk about led me to go see watch this movie. That is Mad Max 2, but for America it was called The Road Warrior. And that is basically kind of the same way, but more in the setting of Australia and of their post-apocalypse world, and very, very 80s, I may say, especially from the wardrobe and everything like that. And the reason why I think these two work really together is because how ridiculous both of them are. Mad Max, the franchise itself, is a ridiculous franchise with some of the craziest, goofiest ideas that they did of the survival of weapons are very scarce. Water was the main source along with gas to survive, and a story about a wanderer that is just wandering to the next story to the next one. So much of that it almost feels like that he's always walking into another story, not really focusing on him. And this is no different as the Road Warrior has gone, as Mel Gibson plays a guy named Max, and he ends up, after a chase of this gang of wild bikers, he ends up following that basically led him to a group of survivors that are protecting a bunch of oil, a bunch of gas that these biker gangs won at, and he tries to get himself some by, also helping them out. So there was kind of a deal or no deal, kind of paraphrasing this. But he's not alone. He's accompanied by his man's best friend, a dog, and a stranger that is also rides a unicopter. Are they called unicopters? Would you say that's called a unicopter? What would you call
Yeah,
that?
I would say so. Something along that lines. It's
Yeah,
it's it's a man-made little helicopter.
yeah. And I like the idea of the Mad Max series because the fact that in this post-apocalypse world of all this stuff, you have no choice but go crazy. So it makes sense to see everybody looking crazy, acting crazy, and whatnot, which is why this movie is so fun and ridiculous. So for this recording, this part of it, if you haven't seen Mad Max, I recommend going and seeing it. It's a great one time. I'm pretty sure a lot of people that saw Mad Max for the first time is probably Fury Road that gained a lot of awards and everything like that. So it might give you a chance to go back and watch the one starring Mel Gibson and see where that really kind of started. But Nam, I think you and I both agree that Mad Max Road Warrior, and I don't know if this is your first time watching it, but how ridiculous this movie is and just the journey that it takes you on.
Yeah, so this is definitely the first time I've actually watched this movie. In fact, literally what you just said there was kind of the order that I went with. Surprisingly enough, it just wasn't on my bingo card to watch any of the Mad Max movie. As far as Fury Road goes, Like I remember watching that movie with Brienne, like our friend, a mutual friend of ours, and I didn't really think that much of it. Like I was like, it was okay, it was okay, it was okay, and everybody was giving it all these awards and all these flowers and its petals and all this stuff, and I was just like. It was okay. It was fun, I guess. I mean, it was all right. It was all right. Then I watched this movie, and I was like, "Oh, that's how these movies are." I get it now. I get
Yeah.
it, Jeremy. I get it.
Yeah.
I didn't get it before, but I get it so much now. I think it's weird because that was so much more refined. Fury Road, right?
Mm.
But the fun, the campiness, the ridiculousness of this style of movie, like it makes so much more sense now. Like I get it. I guess if I would have watched this stuff before, I would have
Mm.
had more respect for Fury Road. I think I need to go back and watch it again
Yeah.
someday.
Yeah,
Someday.
and then of course, like the video game kind of helps fill in a little bit of
Mhm.
some of a little bit more of the story and whatnot. Now, with that being said, I have never watched the first Mad Max film.
Okay.
Never watched it. I didn't think I need to. I think they did a great job just kind of giving you a caught up at the very beginning and kind of telling you what the world's like, that you don't really need to watch the first one, in my opinion. The only thing you would get out of it is basically how he used to be a police,
The
a
police
highway
officer.
trooper, kind of like a
Yeah.
highway trooper. And then he lost his family in the making of that, and that what made him go kind of nuts and whatnot. And I think they did a good job. It's almost like the Evil Dead treatment. Like
Mhm.
Evil Dead 2 is basically kind of the retelling of the first movie,
That's
except
right.
except for this aspect, they kind of give you enough information where like I don't need to really watch it. And that movie, that first one, has a different style for it because it was a low budget B movie compared of the budget that they changed here where it became more post-apocalypse compared to the other one. It was more of the beginning of the post-apocalypse. So in which that led to, Thunderdome and Fury Road, and then the release of Furiosa that's coming out soon. Now,
Yes.
I think leaning on the ridiculousness of this idea is what really carried this movie. And there's some ridiculousness in this I agree with, and there's some I don't agree with. But I think it's just fun for what they're doing. Because I would say there's a lot of stuff where it's kind of like hypocritical, or some certain things where you look at it and you're like, maybe there was an easier way to solve this problem. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's certain characters I feel like they were useless for what it is. But I think the best parts of this movie is the chase scenes. I think that's the thing that highlights the movie. I think that's what carries all these movies across is you never seen chases this practical and real stunts than probably any other kind of chase movies that for what it is. Some of those wrecks were pretty crazy at the time as it got bigger and bigger as the movies has gone. So for us, Nam, I want to talk about first off of just how ridiculous some of these crazy chase scenes was because we got really three chase scenes. We got a beginning one, we got a middle one where he has to go no middle one where he gets in a terrible wreck, and then the last one is the giant retrieving the truck
Yeah.
and whatnot. And then one more, the one where they use themselves as the decoy while the other survivors try to get away. Yeah, were you I know you said Fury Road at the time was not your cup of tea per se, or you weren't really like you didn't understand what the hype was, but now watching this, how does it feel now to see these stunts in that style in the 80s themselves? Were you impressed by these scenes? Did you think that some of these scenes overstayed their welcome? Did you feel like they could have done more? What was your impression of seeing these beginning of these great, chase scenes that they were going for?
So my initial thought actually was something along the lines of like Vin Diesel wishes he can do this in the Fast and the Furious movies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it hits you like very first scene of this movie, like the whole chase scene at the very the car chase scene, right? Timeless is the word I'm going to utilize for the chase scenes that we see in this movie. Like it's incredible. Like it's incredible, Jeremy. Like I watched the chase scenes and everything that was going on in this movie, and I thought to myself, this is awesome. Like this is fantastic. In fact, that it holds up the test of time. Like it makes more sense to me now than a lot of the chase scenes and the car scenes that we see. Because I feel like I think in 2024 we try to be bigger, we try to be better, we try to be more ridiculous, and it just doesn't make it makes it cartoony. I guess if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense to you. Like to me, I feel like watching this stuff here, it seems more practical. It makes a lot of more sense. It's not so acrobatic. There's not so many CG scenes or anything like that that would go through it that I think ruins the aspect of it. I think it feels so raw, and I think it like the emotion is there. And then the moments that things happen, you're just like, ooh, he ain't
Mm-hmm.
gonna be in the sequel. He's
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
He's done. Done for. So no, absolutely. I think these scenes that happened in 1981, which is incredible to me, hold up the test of time and in fact are better than a lot of the stuff that we see now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of what we see now is too produced, too cleaned up. It doesn't look as raw, doesn't look as raunchy, doesn't look as real, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I take that in looking at the Fast and the Furious saga, right? Like, I feel they try to do what we're seeing here in Mad Max, like the style, the chase, the drama, the feel for it all. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it works better now because we have so much cleanup, so much refined chase scenes now.
Mm, I especially impressed by the camera shots of how they pulled
Yes.
that off. I think that was really good. I would say the probably my opinion is the biggest letdown was the chasings were great, but I felt like when it came to towards the end of the final chase scene, it felt like some of the people that were there to help protect Max and the gasoline tanker didn't really do a good job of really like justifying why they were there. Like they were basically there to be killed, and I didn't feel like they did enough to really like, really put a dent into the biker team. They were just kind of now. Granted, you had a guy that that was paralyzed from the waist down. You had a girl. Really, the only thing she was really good at was like a bow and arrow, but she didn't really get a chance to do that. You had a driver that already got shot in the leg trying to drive, and he made a bad decision. And then you had a little mute kid that was there was a lot of they were there, but they weren't useful in my opinion, just there for more of the crazy kind of stunts for that. I think that part was the weakest, and I wish they did more of that, especially when you look at it now coming back from the 2015 Mad Max, where you saw a lot of the other cast doing more work and shining out more, because the bikers got the biggest shine of this. And even like Max, honestly, Max didn't really fight that much in the movie. If you really think about it, he was just really the more of the driver and maybe shot a couple of people. And so,
No, I agree. I think there's a commonality about getting old, about us getting old in general. So I'm 41 years old as a recording of this episode. So I'm still around, thank God, right?
mm-hmm,
Or whatever deity that you look up to. So I think a commonality of this movie is like at some point you're just like just get to the point. There's so much fluff, just get to the point.
mm-hmm.
Unnecessarily fluff.
For a 90-minute movie, and you're still saying that's crazy,
I
right?
know, right?
Yeah.
For a 90-minute movie, you're just like, there's a lot of fluff into this. It's like, that's what they say when you get older, right? You don't do the dance before you fight anymore. You just go straight to the punch. And I think that was a lot of the issues that I found in this movie. In fact, those issues were actually comical, which is what made the movie just as entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Was just the comedy of it, of just seeing these unnecessary scenes or these unnecessary conversations. I think that was the ones I had more of, is just unnecessary conversations. I agree. It's like watching an anime series like Naruto or Bleach, where they just have a bunch of fillers and nothing's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Yeah.
just there. You just
Mm.
want to get to the meat of it.
Yeah.
It's like too much trying to be a sizzle, but it's not.
So now let's talk about the next ridiculousness, the biker gang,
Mhm.
the other rival, the ones that main goal is to enter this facility where these survivors are and get the gas. And they're at the very beginning, especially the highlight of the guy that has all the bow and arrows around his waist with the little mohawk, red mohawk, and everything like that. Um, that gang itself is very interesting when the guy with the arrows is in the scenes. I
Yeah.
think everybody, once he's not in those scenes and he's kind of to the side, not doing anything, a lot of the other characters in this game do not pull their weight. But I do like the costumes, and they do get some little highlights. Like, for instance, the I'll call him the announcer with the furry raccoon hat. You know, he gets a couple of moments, like from losing his fingers to a blade boomerang to being blown up by the car that Max had to secure if anybody tries to like steal his engine or anything like that. But I think the most lackluster is the leader. The leader gets some highlights, but he wasn't scary compared to the Archer guy. This guy was stealing every scene because he was thirsty for blood. He wanted revenge. He wanted to kill everybody. The guy with the mask didn't really get the shine that I really want. Yet he made threats, but those threats weren't doing anything. For example, there was a part where Max went to go get the big truck so he can help wield the big tanker towards the end of the movie. And the leader said, if you do anything wrong, we're gonna do something bad. So at night, he brings these guys up, puts them on these wooden cross, but doesn't do anything. Didn't burn them, didn't do nothing to show his threat of anything. He just said, you made us do this. Like, I didn't see any stabs or anything like that. I just think they could have done more with him on that. And on top of that, let's be honest here, I think if he put a lot more thought to it, he could have took over that facility a lot easier, in my opinion. They were driving around that whole thing like crazy, and it's like, you're wasting more gas figuring this out in that way. And I thought that was kind of funny, which is funny that you need this gas so bad, but you guys waste so much gas trying to figure out what to do. So
No, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Like, I sat there and I thought about that when I watched this movie. And I feel like I watched a bunch of What Culture videos. Not What Culture, I'm sorry, Watch Mojo videos where they were talking about, like, villains and stuff like that. I feel like he was the first villain that's the general, or the first antagonist where the general antagonist was so much better than the actual main character, right? The main antagonist, Humongous or Humongous or whatever.
Yeah, Humongous.
And you know what's funny? I was watching Humongous do his thing, like where he was talking and stuff like that. He's doing this, and I don't know if you saw this mixture of Goro from Mortal Kombat 1 and Shao Kahn from Mortal Kombat 2 put into one, just worthless. But he did this little thing where he stretches out. But I don't know. Like, I felt like he definitely had the intentions of being like very evil, but chose not to be. The only thing I think he did that was very menacing was that he choked out the Mohawk guy.
Yeah.
after the Mohawk guy lost his pool boy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, after he lost his pool guy, he choked him out and was just like, "We do it my way." And I'm just like, "Okay, cool. I'm ready to see what else you can do." Oh, you're not doing much. Okay. I mean, you have this Jason mask on. I expect more from you. Then the little like vein in the back of his head was just like, or actually that humongous vein that was in the back of his head was pumping. Like, you thought he was like Bane from like Batman, where you're just like gonna talk to him. He was just like, "What happens if we take your mask off?" It would hurt. For you.
Yeah.
But we never got that moment. So, I agree. I think the general stole the show for sure. Actually, to be fair, I don't really know any of the characters' names. I don't think this was meant for me to know.
No.
Other than I gave one person a name throughout the entire movie. That was the friend of Max.
Oh, the helicopter guy?
Yeah, the helicopter guy.
Yeah.
I'll let you know later what I gave him. I'm sure you probably can figure it out.
And speaking of that, his so-called partner in crime, I think he was an enjoyable character in this movie. I think that he was not very helpful towards the end of the movie, but I think he was a good, fun character, and he brought something different because of the unicopter. I think that's what made him really stand out the most. And the fact that he
stand out the most.
You say what?
You felt like that was the reason why he stood out the most? Okay.
The unicopter? Well, I mean, he's the only one with the unicopter. Nobody else had this device or anything, so I think that was his standout for his thing. And that, and I was gonna get mine. You know, he's trying to get the chick. I understand his motives. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. He got
the
a motive.
girl
He did. But most
by
of them,
just looking at her. Just
yeah, yeah. But he didn't get her until like the very end. But most of the time,
he made eye contact, man. That's all that matters.
but that copter though, man, that copter was it was the star of the show at certain points, man. I have to say that because when it comes to the other people, the almost a non-violent group or whatever, the one protecting one, there wasn't really any standouts, which I think it was a missed opportunity.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because they had a moment, but they didn't really do anything else. Yes, you had a girl with a bow. She got one shot in. Okay. And she shot a flamethrower. Okay. Don't remember her name. You had the paralyzed guy. You had the military old man with the hat. You had the mute kid with the boomerang. I guess he would probably be the one that probably had the most development.
The most, right? Yeah.
Probably the most development out of everyone. But the leader, everybody, they were more of a plot device than anything else to move stuff forward. So, was there anybody I'm missing in that group that stood out to you?
Oh yeah, the old lady, whatever, that gave him the shotgun shells. They gave him
Oh,
the shotgun.
oh yeah. I think that was like, is she like the mother of the one that got killed out there, and then maybe the other one that actually like killed the guy that got killed by the Mohawk guy?
Yeah, something along the lines. All I know is she was annoying as hell. She stood out to me, Jeremy, because she was annoying as hell.
Yeah.
That's all. She came out. Her highlight of the movie was, besides the shotgun shells, right? Her highlight of the movie, which is the only handful of dialect that you get in this movie, right? Because it's a very quiet movie, very action oriented. But she was just like, "You heard them. Let's believe them.
Yeah.
We should join them." And he's just like, and the leader dude's just like, "And then what?"
Yeah.
He's just like, they offered us to, we should listen to them. We should listen to them. And then like the leader will say something, and she'll be like, "That's just words." I was like, he just did the same thing. What makes you want to listen to him instead? Like, I don't. And like, there was so many things. And there was another dude. Favorite part, conversation-wise, favorite part of the movie.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember this, but Max was talking about how he would show them to the whatever, and the dude, and it was after like an event, and the dude goes, "We lost 8 good men this morning." And everybody just looked at him like, "Okay." Then he was like, "So what's your plan?" He was like, as if he was gonna interrupt Max and be like, "No, that's not good, man. We lost 8 people this morning." No, he was just like, "We lost 8 good people this morning," and everyone just looked at him. And he looked back at them. I don't know what I was gonna go. I forgot. So what's your plan again? So many of those scenes, Jeremy, I don't understand, but it was fantastic.
Also too, I think what I also like, and it was Max himself. What I like about Max is he wasn't a superhero.
Yeah.
He wasn't like invincible or anything. I mean, because he got through the ringer himself. So you were there. It kind of showed that this world is gruesome, and he'll try his best to make it through, but he just got hurt really bad. I think the character that I felt bad, that like I felt bad for this character only because the fact that like I wanted to see if this character was going to get more work or get something out there, and it's the dog. Like, the dog was cool. The dog didn't get a lot. So when the dog got killed, there was no feelings. And I wish the dog got more of a moment before that. I think that was not a good moment for the dog to die. It would have been, because like it didn't even give Max time to like mourn. He moved on like it didn't care. He didn't exist. It almost felt like the dog shouldn't even have been in it, based on the way Max took it. I mean, even through the whole movie, Max didn't really pay attention to the dog anyway. It's like he was eating dog food, throw him the can, like, or in the car, he just hide under. Like, yes, he kind of got him to go sick him on certain people, but like you never seen him like good boy or anything. There was no bonding with this dog. And I feel like the dog was just pointless. It was ridiculous to have the dog in it.
I agree. I think the idea of the dog, right? Because we look at him, we think, oh, look, it's dog meat. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. That's absolutely right.
We're like, it's dog meat. Oh, I love dog meat. And it when I watched this movie and I saw that, I was like, oh, so this is where they got the influence for like Fallout 4 and whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is what we're gonna see. And no. In fact, this dog, I think the emotional connection to this dog is about as much as the emotional connection to the dogs that you saw in John Wick 3 with Halle Berry. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like I felt more pain for I Am Legend than I did this. And that blue healer was cute as hell.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, blue healers are also known for being pretty mean too, as well. So
Mm-hmm.
and protective for their owners. So I was kind of surprised, and it was a big missed opportunity. I wonder if it was just a training issue, or they just couldn't teach dogs to do half the stuff they would do, or it was just badly written. But yeah, I agree. It was a missed opportunity. I felt that it was going to be, at least my anticipation of it was going to be a uh, a presentation of what I should expect for Fallout 4, Fallout 3, Fallout 4,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't.
Now, as you know in the movie, their final plan was to use this the truck, the tanker, as a decoy to get the bikers away while the other survivors, the other people that can't fight, go away. Because the goal is to go to this paradise that they think still exists in some shape or form, south, which, in my opinion, does not exist,
Yeah.
and we'll never know. But my question for you is, was there a better plan to deal with the bikers, in your opinion? Or was this the best plan? Was this plan too ridiculous? Or what do you think? There could have been a better idea how to solve this.
So I wish they would have made one of those what should have happened,
Mm-hmm.
like YouTube shorts of this movie in particular, because I want to tell you the best plan was to just blow them away at the very beginning of the movie. like, like they come up. Now I will say this is super creative. Like they use meat shields,
Mm-hmm.
a very MacGruber thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But clever, right? But there was like three people. One of them looked like they were dead on,
Yeah.
on the car. Now I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, it's like, oh man, you got guns on them, you got flamethrowers on them. Which, by the way, if gas was such an important thing, using a flamethrower probably wasn't the smartest idea. But needless to say, they had guns on them. They had whatever. They had all these kind of weapons on them. In fact, the redheaded mohawk arrow guy like wasted an arrow on a bunny just randomly running around.
They don't eat. I never seen them eat. Nobody in this movie ate food. Did you
Yeah.
ever see anybody eat food?
No, no, not at all. No, no, no. But I mean, I never saw myself eat food too in Fallout. I just ate food.
The bunny's probably the freshest thing you can find in this world.
He just shot the bunny because it was in his way.
Dominance. Dominance. That's what it is.
He's just, hey, guess what I can do, guys?
Yeah.
But I mean, they had guns on them. Honestly, if they would just blown away three of their people plus everybody that was there, like they would have. This would have been over like at the very beginning. They had guns on them. They had
With
everything.
a scope.
There was nothing going on from the other group. Like they had nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like they literally just rolled up with like meat shields the entire time. Like
Right.
so. That's the part where I was talking about where it was just unnecessary. I
Yeah.
thought I was just sitting there watching it. I was just like, why don't they just blow them away? I
Yeah.
don't understand this. Oh, we're gonna go through a whole plan. All right, got you.
I always just thought, like, what if y'all just drive straight into that bus?
Yeah.
Like, with enough cars, you should be able to move the bus.
Yeah.
You know, like, you guys have a lot more vehicles. You guys could easily do that. But I understand the gun thing. Because the humongous had a scope on his gun. And they
Yeah.
literally showed him open this gun like this is like an important piece you need to know about this movie. Didn't really take advantage of it, in my opinion, but he didn't. He had a better chance of taking out, at least the girl and probably some other people because everybody else doesn't know how to use those weapons or anything.
Well, and the other thing too is that they could have easily have just like, all right. So the tanker was the decoy, right? Spoiler
Hmm.
alert, guys. Spoiler alert, guys. Sorry about that. The tanker was a decoy, right? But let's just say even if we put a little bit of gas in the tanker, right? That we know we were going to sacrifice a little bit of gas in the tanker. Like you could have just put the tanker out there, and everybody was going to go for the tanker. Like that's the goal. And you can just blow up the tanker if you were planning to go ahead and sacrifice. Like, all right, so cool, yeah, we're gonna sacrifice the paralyzed guy. If it's a zombie apocalypse and the paralyzed guy can't get away, I mean, it makes sense, right?
Hmm.
I mean, I always told my associates if they mess up something and they cause somebody to if they cause a threat to the group where the group could die, I would probably shoot them in the legs and let them just be bait. So, in the paralyzed guy, I mean, if he was gonna if he was gonna go out and burn himself anyways, he might as well have blown up a tanker full of like not full of gas, but a little bit of gas to blow up and cause an explosion to like blow up the biker gang. I
Hmm.
mean, it was not worth giving up the girl who had like the dual bows, or the dual bows who only shot one bow, which no one can explain to me how she could reload her bows. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm a big dual wielding guy. Jeremy knows this. Jeremy knows this. I'm a dual wielding guy. I
I
say
think she literally
ridiculous
bought
things.
2 arrows with her for which one, and then it was done.
Yeah. I'm a ridiculous guy when it comes to stuff like that. I joke about dual wielding grenades, but I know it's not practical, nor does it make sense. So
Mm.
dual wielding crossbows makes no sense, and good for her. But I wouldn't have sacrificed her. At least she would have gotten 2 shots off.
Yeah, because like the setup for that chase for them was just I don't know. I felt like, in my opinion, the people were in the wrong place for the wrong thing.
Hmm.
Like like I feel like Max was right to drive the big tanker. I get that, but like maybe the leader that is probably not that good should be the one up there while the girl is good driving.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I feel like just people were in the wrong place to do this job, and I guess that kind of annoyed me a little bit. Or even the unicopter guy. Apparently, you can carry 2 people. He carried Max back to the base. What about 2 people up there carrying it?
Yeah.
There was so many different strategies they could have gone with, because like, why did it take the unicopter towards the end to finally do something? Like were they going that fast that you caught up then? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And he had a lot of snakes. That's a lot of snakes, man. I don't
Hey
get it.
man, here's the thing. They use those snakes like that snakeorang. That snakeorang was amazing.
You're
Where
not
they
wrong.
used the snake as a boomerang instead of like making it super erect and as an arrow.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I mean, James Earl Jones would be proud of
Mhm.
what they do with the snakes in that entire movie. But yeah, there was a lot of strategy that they could have done strategically. Um, that guy was load managing. If you understand what I'm talking about, it's a basketball term, right? Where NBA players like get hurt, but then they like sit out purposely to try to rest their leg. Like that dude was milking that arrow to the leg. I'm just saying. If there was a scouting report, like he got shot in the leg, and Jeremy he laid down like he was paralyzed. He could not get up. And then all of a sudden he was limping around, which I understand you be limping around, but by God, he was milking that thing for anything, for everything. It was just like, well, I guess I'll be the one driving the tanker, which he wasn't going to be the one driving the tanker. We
No.
know that, right? But then
No.
whenever then whenever Matt or Max was like, well, our contract's done, he starts talking shit to him. Like he's trying to get him to come back. It's like, well, what kind of guy are you? Did you lose family? Just start talking shit to him. Like it's like, oh, you know what?
Oh, you
If you
deserve the
keep
punch in
talking
the
shit
face.
and talking negative to me, I think I'll join you. I think that's a good idea. And then when Max goes back and he's just like, I'll drive. And he's just like, nah, offers closed, bruh.
I know, right? Like, what?
Offers
I'm
closed.
putting my life on the line. You're gonna say no to that?
I mean, he's like, I took an arrow to the leg, man.
Yeah. Um,
It was weird.
yeah, and then the last thing I think they could have done. Now, granted, you could argue that maybe they didn't know. I think they should have gone out. I think like while like when they both went their own ways, the survivors of the group, the tanker went and then the other survivors went into like little vans and stuff, drove away. And you had those three guys that turned around and decided to go into the base and then
Yeah.
they blew up and died. I don't know, man. I feel like one of them would have been smart enough to go after them. After them. Maybe they just didn't know. They were too focused, like, hey, they open it up. Let's go get it. But I feel like one of them is like, nah, that's too easy.
Yeah.
But that's why you're a henchman. You don't think, you do.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so,
Unless you're the redheaded Mohawk henchman.
yep. Well, those are basically my most ridiculous moments that made me love this movie so much and where it led to this day, even to the video games and everything like that. And I do recommend seeing it. I think it aged really well. I think it's awesome to look at it. What was the budget? How they pull off these stunts in the 80s. I think it's just great for what it is. I think I like Max because, to tell you the truth, as you watch the series of Max, I realized that the stories are not really focused on Max. Max walks into these stories, and we just see how he deals with the story, and then he moves on. It's almost a continuous story. Will we ever see this conclusion of what happens? I don't know. That's up to George Miller. But I like the fact that as we go further into this with following Max, we learn more about this world as it bigger and bigger and bigger. And I thought this is a good way to start it off of, this is how crazy this world is. So mad that we have bikers that are dressing ridiculous. We got that water and gas is the most precious things. I mean, hell, even at the beginning, Max was on a standoff between him and the Mohawk guy of like, are you gonna let me get my oil? Are you gonna let me get my gas so I can get out? Like, I love how they show how precious stuff are in this movie. So it's definitely a recommended for me. I like this movie a lot. Nam?
Oh yeah, man. No, I definitely recommend this movie as far as just like enjoying. It's a popcorn movie. It definitely is a popcorn movie, and the dialogue that they do have is actually pretty comical to me. I think it was fun. I do think the chase scenes and everything else that happened with the fight scenes and the stunts and Scooter. I thought Scooter was great. He was just flying everywhere, just going like, "You want to catch a ride?
Catch a ride." Yeah.
So no, I think it was a great movie and a good movie to definitely watch and experience. It's definitely an experience. I will say that. If you got surround sound, some popcorn, and like a pretty big screen, it definitely got to do it. Got to get it at least one time. I will say you have to enjoy it one time, especially now because it was so gritty and raw versus like how it is refined. And what you'll see with Furiosa, what you see with Fury Road.
Mm-hmm.
I think the rawness of it makes it really fun.
Okay.
I also think that it's weird, right? Because I think the post-apocalyptic world that they have kind of looks like Oklahoma.
Coming soon. And with that, I want to thank everybody for enjoying our video for this particular movie that is Mad Max 2 Road Warrior. And as you know, we are part of the In-Game Boss program, but on this personal page, we are the past attractions. So don't forget to leave a comment down below, your thoughts, your concerns. What's your favorite part? What is the most ridiculous part of Mad Max? Hell, what do you think is the most ridiculous part in any Mad Max film? We would love to hear that. And don't forget to subscribe. We would love to have you be part of this as we try to have more movies and more thoughts about stuff as we go. And thank you so much. We'll see you next time.